What's up, people? So today is Sunday, October 19th, 2025, and I'm rocking a Nike hat and some, what do you call this stuff again? I wear it all the time. So this is dry fit, which is I wear underneath my jacket or I wear with some protection or whatever the case may be. So I hope you're having a great Sunday morning. State of the Nation. So came on again, had a great week, worked all week. I went for a ride last night. I had the opportunity to go to this, I rode past the bike meet. It's the QuietGhost Meet here at the Texas Motor Speedway. I don't generally like going to places where there's a lot of bikes, a lot of testosterone, a lot of people trying to show out for the ladies or whatever the case may be, a lot of fast cars. I just thought it was a recipe for anything can happen. Of course, anything can happen at any time. So yeah, I didn't go, but what I did do is that I rode to Buc-ee's, and when I was riding to Texas Motor Speedway, and the meet was from 6 to 11, I actually saw there was a lot of bikes at Buc-ee's, so I said, let me go over there and get some footage, and I rode to Buc-ee's, packed, bikes everywhere. Not as many as the bikes at the QuietGhost. Oh, this is my neighbor. So yeah, and I did take a little bit of, I took a quick video of that, which I will show you. So today, at State of Nation, as we do, we're gonna talk about motorcycles, motorcycle related things. Then we'll talk about some news, and then we'll also talk about God. So in the motorcycle area, we're gonna talk about cameras, what it is that I use to record when I'm riding. I use the Insta 360 X3. I still have that. I have not upgraded to 4 or 5. I also use a GoPro, which is right there, a GoPro Hero 10 with the media mod. The mic that I use is the Purple Panda mic the majority of the time, but I do have a DJI mini mic that I put in my helmet that can connect wirelessly to the Insta 360. And we're also going to talk about one of my helmets that I use, that I wear. And this is the Sedeci Strada 3. And it's an interesting helmet. I like it. Fits well. And it comes with the Bluetooth accessories as well. And a little bit of the decoration on the helmet. I didn't actually do that myself. My friend Z did that. So I have to give her all credit for that. So let's talk about motorcycles and just jump right in. And let's give you a little bit of what happened when I walked into Buc-ee's last night. And let's get that on screen for you so you could see what that was like. I'm going to try and get myself together here. I'm looking for that part, and roll it. This is me entering into Buc-ee's. And Buc-ee's is located here in Fort Worth off of, I think it's 35. I stopped right there to chill a little bit. Just give me the raw sounds and get a feel of what the night was like. I don't know exactly what I was thinking, but I was wearing the helmet that we're going to talk about, It's a nice Challenger. I mean, it was right, so that was pretty much that. So I did get to see, went out. There were a lot of people out, a lot of people hanging around, milling around. And some people was like, oh, they're tearing up 35, which is one of the highways here. And so there's like ways to get, a lot of people rode in from Dallas, and then people rode in from Denton. I'm guessing people rode in from Waxahachie. I'm not a Texan, so you gotta forgive me if I don't get these towns right. Waxahachie, Burleson. I will assume that people rode in from the Rockwood area. There was a huge meet, very popular motorcycle content creator, Fast Lane. I think that he was up there earlier. Was it Friday? And then there was a little rain yesterday too. Friday night, I hung out. I watched the Miami versus Louisville game. Unfortunately, we took an L, but it's okay. It's all right. And then yesterday, what did I do? Did I go for a ride? Yeah, well, obviously I did the meet thing, and I studied Spanish, which is good. And I went and got some Whataburger like 12 o'clock at night. And yeah, that was pretty much my Saturday. I studied, watched some college football, watched the Alabama game versus Tennessee, watched the Georgia game versus, who was Georgia playing? Oh, shoot. Was Georgia playing? No, Vandy won. Alabama played Tennessee. Who was Georgia playing? Ole Miss. Georgia played Ole Miss. Yeah, and then I saw a little of the Florida State-Stanford game, the highlights late at night. Sad for them. Florida State took an L. So that was pretty much it. Now, incidentally, my someone I know, she took the MSF course. So if you've seen on the channel that there is a video posted of MSF training at AMC. So my friend, she took that and she passed. So I should have gave her some hand claps just now. So she passed. And after that, she passed. Then she wanted to ride. So I think we went jet skiing, which you'll see, which you saw if you look at the channel. So that was us jet skiing. But also, I don't know if you got an opportunity to see. There's a huge difference from, in my opinion, for when I first started riding. I started on the K125 at the MSF, and then my bike arrived, and so I went to the parking lot, which is near here. Near me, and I trained in there, and I realized that immediately there was a difference from riding a K125 as far as the power is concerned and riding a Ninja 500, which is my first bike. So I bought a Ninja 2024 Ninja 500 SCKRT, and I trained in the parking lot before I actually got out in the street, which was my recommendation for her. But for some reason, I'm going to say this, women are, the people that I know, all the women, and I know a few that have learned, you guys get out on the road quick. And a lot of them ride 650s and 600s as their first bikes. So that was not my first bike. I didn't go that route. There was a lot of different reasons. I was scared of the machine. I'm still, very leery of my 600 because there are situations that you can get yourself in. But, hey, to each their own, and God bless them. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what she did after that. And I'm going to put that on the screen now. And there she goes. So this is us training at night. Right in the same parking lot. I call this a little track at the church. And at that point, she was like, "Can I pass you now?" I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, sure." So she's riding my Ninja 500.
I did good.
Yeah,
Oh.
She was happy, right?
I speed, don't speed.
that's one of the great things about life.
That might be. Is it good, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that was my friend. That was her first time on the Ninja 5. Well, no, not the first time, but that was her first time solo riding. And she went from the K125 to the Ninja. We're going to train, I think it's November 1st she wants to train. And she's looking into purchasing a Ninja 650. I guess it's going to be the yellow color, maybe, the new ones, or I don't know exactly, but that's what she's looking into purchase. So that was her first time. So in case you are thinking about getting into the motorcycle hobby, some people call it hobby. I look at it different. I look at it as a means from getting from A to B. But a lot of people look at it as a motorcycle enthusiast, whether it be high or just joyriding, tricking, so stunt riding, so to speak, or using it as your normal commute, because it is quietly an economic and efficient way of getting from point A to point B. So, yeah. Now, there was something else that happened on my ride the other day. I was riding around. I hadn't ridden the Ninja for a minute because I try to ride both bikes at least once a week. Make sure good gas is in there, keep them running properly, keep the battery strong. And I went for a little joyride. And when I went for this little joyride, a couple things happened to me. And let's get into it. I'm going to show it to you, and you tell me what you guys think about it. Sometimes people want to share the lane with you. That's crazy. And that person, she just looked at me when she was driving by, like, okay. And then immediately after that, again, I was just cruising, came out, made a turn, and I was cruising, and the truck, I know they saw me because I saw them. I know they saw me because I saw them when I'm pulling out, and I saw them switch to the left to the right lane because I'm in the left lane when you're making a right-hand turn. But for some reason, he turned back. He got back in the lane right behind me and rode right. I mean, as far as this camera's to me, he rode up on me, and I was like looking back, like, "What are you doing? Why?" And so I was like, I don't know what I don't know what you're thinking. So I kind of like ran up to the side of the road and was like, just go ahead, whatever it is that you're doing, because I'm just chill riding, I'm joy riding, listening to music, talking. I was actually trying to make a video using the GoPro, and for some reason that happened to me twice. Why? I don't know. It's one of those things. But I'll tell you the thing that I always say that's really, really good that I try to do is that you have to forget things when you're riding a motorcycle. You have to be in the moment. You have to be where you are. And I'm not a smash the mirror type of person, so I don't approve of that. I think that just throws fire, wood on the fire. So what I'm trying to do is de-escalate the situation. Whatever I get in situations, which is rare, but it happens, and I show you that even if you're just out there chilling, minding your business, for some reason there's some I don't know if it's animosity or enmity or something that goes on between cars and bikes. And you could be the biker that's not even that type, but for some reason you get caught up in a situation. So in those types of things, what I immediately try to do is like you have to get over it quick in your mind, because if you're thinking about either revenge or doing something stupid, then that compounds the problem and causes you to do something stupid. And then we can get in a world of hurt, because the reality is that a 400-pound bike is not gonna be able to damage a 5-ton, 6-ton, 7-ton, 8-ton vehicle moving on the highway at the same speed or even at greater speeds. So in the interest of peace, in the interest of making it home, because the whole point is to go out, enjoy your ride, and then make it home to your loved ones if you have loved ones, or make it home and to continue on with your life and not do anything foolish, not getting tickets, not get hurt or anything like that. So immediately, if you have these situations, you got to do is let me calm down, let me de-escalate, let me try and avoid it at all costs if necessary, because this is Texas, and there are a lot of people out there that can and will do harm to you. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. Even some motor vehiclists don't realize that even if they just want to get up close and see your bike and see what it's like, that sometimes that presents a danger to you as a rider that they're not aware of, because They're inside of a car, which is a little bit more protection, whereas you're exposed and vulnerable when you're riding a motorcycle. So again, what I would say, my advice to anybody that has these situations, try to de-escalate it in your mind and try to get out of this situation, calm down, and then move on quickly, because you still have a lot of stuff that's happening around you on the road, and you really need to be focused. Whether you're listening to your music, hang out with your friends, but you got to be focused with all the different distractions and all the possibilities that could be out there that can cause harm to you. All right, enough said about that. So that was just an interesting moment in my life. I just wanted to share that to you. And right now, let's take a minute to say, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy these Sunday meetings that we have, then go ahead, please subscribe and like. That would be beautiful. Or comment. That would be beautiful too, because that lets me know that you're currently engaging with me. And that's the whole point of this, is to share and to engage and help each other grow in some capacity in our life. All right. So that was that. So let's talk about, because we're talking about motorcycle things related. So what do you want to do? You want to do the video, how we get these videos first, or do you want to do the helmet? Oh, decisions, right? All right. So since I have the Purple Panda mic up on my screen, let's do that. Let's start with the Purple Panda mic. And let's take this off the screen. And there we go. That shows you my computer screen, but let's make it even better for you. So here is the Purple Panda mic on the right-hand side. I'm going to actually pull it up from Amazon, because usually people put the link in. You see my cart. It's kind of full. No, it's not. All right. So this is the mic that I use, and this works with the GoPro Hero 10 and the Media Mod. All right. So the Purple Panda mic, let me do that. And I forgot how much it costs. How much does it cost? It costs $33.99 on Amazon. So this mic is the mic that I use the majority of the time when I'm recording on the GoPro Hero 10 specifically. Because I had a GoPro Hero 4, but I gave it away. I did. And I used the GoPro Hero 10. So this is that mic, and it goes in. So let's look a little bit. So it does just have this clip right here, which I clip to this portion of my helmet, which I'll show you in a minute. And it has these 2-ring adapters, the mini USB, because you're going to need that adapter in order to address the Media Mod. And there you can see the different applications of it. And you can see how you can use it. So you see that you can use this mic with the GoPro Hero. You can use it with the Insta 360 action cameras, the DJI action camera. I don't have a DJI. You can also use it with your iPhone, your Samsung, Android, LG. You can use it with your Zoom, Tascam, your DSLR, and your iPad, because it has these adapters to it. All right, so that's the mic that I use. And so let's do this real quick. And now let's talk about the GoPro Hero 10. And I don't know exactly if this is the exact one, but so this is the camera that I use. This is the GoPro Hero 10. I mount it, not in this case, but to other helmets, I mount it to the front. I have a chin mount. I mount it to the front, and so that gives you your front POV video footage. You can probably get this on Facebook Marketplace if you are, one of those people that doesn't have a problem buying electronics from secondhand electronics. Sometimes you get a good deal, sometimes you don't. Majority of my experience is that I've lucked up and had some good deals and so forth and so on. So yeah, and that's the camera that I use. Now, in order to use the Media Mod with the GoPro here, with the Purple Panda, I usually use the Media Mod. And it's this right here. And now I'm going to show you. So this is the Media Mod. This is around the camera. And you basically take the camera and the Media Mod. So you have these two, as you can see. So this is the Media Mod, and it comes with a windscreen. And you take your battery door off your GoPro Hero 10, like here. And then that allows you to access the Media Mod. So you slide your GoPro Hero 10, in this case, which I have, into your Media Mod like so. And then whammo. and you have your power button here and your record button, and you can still access all your camera features back here, and you still have your windscreen. And then on the rear, there is a power slot, and there's also a mic slot right there, and that's where your lavalier pen goes in. And so that's how I use the GoPro Hero 10, the Media Mod, and the lavalier mic. All right. So the other camera that I use, which is right here, is the Insta 360. I'm pulling that up for you, Insta 360 X3. Voila. Some people will buy the entire motorcycle kit. When I bought mine, I bought it from Walmart. Walmart was running a sale. Obviously, you have Black Friday and times when electronic companies are having sales, as well as you can buy it secondhand off of Facebook Marketplace. I'm a big Facebook Marketplace for something if I need, and I don't have to spend top dollar on it, but I can get something of quality. I will give you a trick when it comes to Facebook Marketplace. I generally try to buy things from people that are selling it in rich neighborhoods. I know that could be, some people could take that the wrong way or the case, but my thinking is that a lot of the people that are selling it, either their children had it and they no longer have need to it, and left it where they went to college or work or overseas or whatever the case would be, or they bought it and instead of returning it, a lot of times you get new stuff because they just don't want to spend the time of returning it and going through the whole process, so they'd rather sell it at a cheap price. Or sometimes they're just like, well, you can have it. Like if you're buying a camera, I bought a mountain bike. I bought vases that are here in my house. Did I get any? What else did I get from there? I didn't. Let's see. A lot of electronic stuff I bought on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace in general had, it has its moments. But for the most part, I've been able to find some really good deals and work with some really good people to get what I bought my GoPro Hero 4 from a lawyer who was like scuba diving, and then they were no longer scuba diving, and they bought a different camera, and they were like living in some rich neighborhood. And it was like, they give it to me. I think they gave it for $50. That's when I wanted a GoPro Hero 4, and I think I got it. It was 2022, or was it 2022? No, I think like 2022. And then I was using it for going in the pool and getting underwater video with our friends and stuff like that, or using it on my jet ski. And so that worked out pretty good. All right, so let's get back to the Insta 360. So there you see the Insta 360, and you also see this long pole they give you, and that's so you can hook and get that rear footage you see a lot of people use. So they use that with the clamps, and they give you a cover, whatever the case may be. And yeah, it's a whole motorcycle kit that comes with it. And mine, at the time that I bought it, I got it for like $2 or $3. So I got it for $100 off. And I'm pretty sure that the X3, because it's not in fashion anymore, they have the X4 and the X5, you'll probably get it for even cheaper. And so I also, with my X3, as you see, it's a 360 camera, so the camera's all around. My X3, when I'm mounting on my bike, I used to have the plastic lens covers, but I find that, you have to keep replacing them every now and then. And so what I use the crash cage. And this crash cage basically protects your Insta. Obviously, if your lenses mess up, and you can just take your Insta like this, and this is the crash cage, and then you can just slide it in, like so, and then you can lock it back in. Pretty easy, pretty simple. And then it also has on the bottom right here, so you have those little slots, and then I slide it and lock it in with a screw that comes with your kit, and then it's stable on your bike. Now, some people use the camera like it's facing, like if I'm facing you, and they'll use the camera like this. The majority of the time now is that I use the camera, it's 360, so it doesn't make a difference. I have it where it fits on my bike like this the majority of the time. So yeah. All right, so that's what I use as far as video and to collect footage. I use the GoPro Hero 10 with the Media Mod and the Purple Panda mic. That gives me my sound. Sometimes sometimes a GoPro, when you use it, if anybody told you about GoPro, sometimes sound it collects sound and like very rare, but sometimes it does some strange things. Whereas I also have a DJI mini bike which I connect to my helmet, do a magnet, and that sound can go straight into your Insta 360. Now, what I've learned, and I don't have the capacity or the ability, is that so if you have a Cardo, I think Pack Talk or some of the pricier Cardos, not the Cardo HD Spirit, which I have on all my helmets. If you have a Cardo, your Cardo can connect straight to your Insta 360 and your GoPro Hero 10 or I think it's 11 or 12. So that's an easier way to have your audio and your live video footage connect and combined. I don't have that ability because I have the Cardo HD Spirit, which is a cheap Cardo, but I don't ride with many people. Now, of course, with this helmet, the Senna, if I were to ride with a bunch of people that had Senna, this has mesh as well as the Exocom, which I have in my T520 helmet, which is a Scorpion. That's a whole different mesh intercom system. But Cardo to Cardo generally works very well. So when I'm riding with my friend Z, we'll Cardo up. Or in the event that you don't have Cardo or you still want to have a kind of the intercom experience, what we basically do is we do a three-way call. So three-way call, four-way call, five-way call, six-way call, whatever you want to do. And then we're all on the call together. The only problem on that is that sometimes people stated that they can't hear their GPS, but you can still see it. Obviously, if it's hooked up because I have a quad lock on my bike. And now recently, I installed the USB port on my Gixxer 600, so now I have power to power my Cardo and I mean not my Cardo, but to power my iPhone as well as the Insta 360 when it's hooked up. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so the problem is that some people, they can't hear their music when they're riding, which is a big thing, right? You gotta have those sounds going on. So anyway, all right. So we've talked about the cameras. Let's get into this helmet. So this is the Sedeci Strada 3. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. Da 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 da. It's 3. I'm still gonna get that up. Helmet. All right, let's see. You're all on my screen. No, this is not my Zilla account. But, no, I don't want to. All right, so this is the Sedeci Strada 3. Oh, wait. What's going on here? In fact, this is the exact helmet. But I have the helmet with Senna. So, as you can see, this is my Sedeci Strada 3. There's a little smile in there what my friend did, and a little bit of the decal work that she did. So there's this all about Jesus. Yeah. So you can see that. All right. So you can see on the screen the Sedeci Strada 3 helmet. So these cost about $3. I'm a big wait for things to get on sale. That is my MO. This is the exact helmet that I'm going to put up on the screen right now. This is the exact helmet that I have, the Sedeci Strada 3 Parlay helmet. Costs $419. Say, given some tax, let's just say round it out to $440, whatever the case may be. And it's DOT as well as ECE certified. So you can see that. I'm going to put myself only on the screen now so you can see the helmet a little bit better. So right here is where your visor goes up, so forth. And it also has an internal visor right there. So that's really good. And it comes equipped with Bluetooth already. And you just press that on, press those two to get those on right there. Now, what I like about this helmet is if you can look inside, you see I love the cushion. It fits well. I'm wearing a medium. Fits very well. It's snug. Obviously, they have your helmet safety clips right here. I don't think this has the emergency strap for pulling out in case you have an accident. I don't think so. It didn't. All right. It has 2 vents. Let me close that. So it has 2 vents right there, air vents there, and it has air vent there. It's very aerodynamic. You can see the 2 vents in the back. And, of course, it has the Senna intercom system on there. So the intercom system, I think you can get up to 16 people. I'm not really sure. Or you have multiple channels. It also has FM radio playback for it connects easily to your iPhone when you're riding. So you can listen to your music, listen to your GPS, take calls, receive calls, reject calls. Has what you call it, your playlist, and then you can see it right there. So what we did was like, so we have my YouTube channel on the back of my helmet, and there you have a beautiful eagle. Actually, this eagle is an eagle representing Colombia. There you have Isaiah 41:10. They put a little smile over there. It's very simple right there. I'm a simple person, so I don't want too much, especially on this helmet. I like the look. It's very sleek. It's cool. For $419, that's not a bad helmet. Not a bad helmet. It's not showy or Alpine Stars, whatever the case may be, but it's still a good helmet. I like it. So if you're looking for a helmet that already has Bluetooth, so you don't have to buy that, this is good. The only problem is I still haven't figured out connecting from the Sena mesh system or intercom system to the Carter. I'm sure it's just me because they're the people that do it, but I haven't really taken the time to really figure it out. I've just rambled a little bit, but just kind of played with it. But yeah, so I have the Sedeci helmet. So if you're interested in buying a helmet, that might be something that you're looking into. So that covers a little bit of the motorcycle part of what we're doing. So let's get into the news portion. Ooh, what's going on with that? So, all right. So generally for news, what I try to do is I'll either I get a lot of my news straight from YouTube. It's easy when you go on YouTube and it says all videos watched, whatever the case may be, and you just put news up there. But just for updates and stuff like that, we can go to the AP. So I like to look at the AP, and let's see. We go to AP, and I also, Associated Press. When I say AP, I say Associated Press. And I also like to get news from Twitter. So my Twitter feed tells you a lot. So why don't we do that? I'm going to put this up here. Booyah, just like that. And that's me riding through life. But today, we're going to do State of the Nation. All right, so they want me to subscribe here. I don't want to subscribe. I'm honest about it. AP, stop it. Get off. Oh, look, you see my team, Miami, losing. Oh, so bad. All right, so right there you see some on the left-hand side of the screen, you see how Americans feeling about their chances on the job market. Why don't we do it this way too? Why don't we take that down and give you a big shot of the screen? There you go. So now you can see AP. Trump's immigration. There's still a lot of immigration crackdown going on. Rest in the worst of the worst. And of course, if you don't realize that if you cross the United States border and illegally enter the country, you're violating USC Code 18, I believe it is, or USC 9. So that is a crime. I know that people trying to reshape the conversation through priming, which is what the media does. They try to prime things in a certain fashion and for people to not to kind of look over. But I say this again for people that have traveled and you have your passport, you go into other countries, you know that you cannot enter another country illegally without a passport or the proper credentials to enter. You know what's going to happen. It's no different than here in the United States. The difference for many people is that people are really actively trying to get into the United States because of the opportunity that affords them if they can get in, if they can become a United citizen, if they can work illegally, or whatever the case may be under the table, because it's just a little bit different here than it is in other countries. Okay. So you see that thieves stole crown jewels of the museum. The No Kings protest was yesterday. There are protests all across the country, allegedly. I've seen some of the videos on that. It's very interesting that in a country that allows you to protest, you're actually complaining about somebody being a king. That's not hindering your ability to protest. Protest or protesting. Rioting is different. In a lot of cases, whether it's been Portland or California or Chicago, burning down your city is not helping your cause. That's not protesting. Blocking people from getting to work in a timely fashion as they are not part of your agenda or are not complaining about your issue. And maybe they do have a problem with their issue, but they have responsibilities. So closing down roads, laying in the streets, throwing bricks off of bridges, causing bodily harm, material harm to people that are just trying to get on with their life. That's not a good look. Just throwing it out there. It's not a good look. Or being in the country, burning the United States flag, protesting and saying this country is no good, but yet not willing to go to the country that you claim is the best country in the world. So if you're a citizen here, imagine if you're an American citizen, you went and you burnt the Mexican flag. I'm going to let you in a little secret in case you don't know, and you can Google this. There are laws against burning a Mexican flag. You go there, that's going to be some serious repercussions. If you were a United States citizen in Mexico, tourist, or illegally, or well, if you're illegally, that's not going to be a good look. And you burnt the Mexican flag in public talking about you're protesting the Mexican government. I feel for your safety. I feel for your safety from the Mexican citizens, and then I feel for your safety from the cartels. I also fear for your safety from the Mexican police. That is not a good look. That is not a good look. That is not a good look in Colombia. That is not a good look in Salvador. That is not a good look. Of course, Puerto Rico's part of the United States. That is not a good look in Honduras. That is not a good look in any country. But here you're allowed to do those things from the country that you say is so bad, that has so many problems, it's the worst country in the world. If that were the case, there's a one-way ticket. You can walk back across the border that you came on. Just go. But that's not the case, is it? No. What the case is that people have issues with not being able to do what they want to do, or not being able to receive what they think they're entitled to. And the fact that this is encouraged by some people that are in our government, or that are representatives in our government, is a little alarming, to tell you the truth. Okay, so some of these protests, I know that AI videos when you see them, we're not even gonna touch it. Weren't what they thought they were, or in this case, we thought. Some people would say what we thought they were. All right, so Trump calls Colombia's Petro an illegal drug dealer, announces the end to U.S. aid to the country. Now, my friend and I, Mariposa, this is her nickname, we were talking about how just the other day, so the U.S. dollar is at 3.8 in pesos in Colombia right now. Now, when I think I traveled, it was high. But we're talking about the fact that the United States and Colombia has this rift right now, and how that's going to affect the Colombian economy more than it's going to affect the American economy. Tourism is huge in Colombia, particularly places like Cartagena, Medellin, Cali, Santa Marta, right? Barranquilla. So tourism is huge. So Colombia is one of the most visited places on the earth, particularly by United States citizens. We love to go there. I mean, you know about passport bros, right? So the people love to go there, whether they're going there to see the country, enjoy the culture, eat the food, learn to salsa dance, quote unquote, have a romantic relationship, quote unquote, find a wife, whatever the case may be, is a popular tourist destination for American citizens. And now with this rift between Colombia and the United States, on top of that, there are Colombian citizens that are here that are in the how am I going to say it? That are leery that a lot of illegals, a lot of people here that are on work visas, tourist visas, I think it's B1 visas, is it B1 visas for education? This is all a precarious situation, especially considering there is an extreme push in the United States government to remove as many illegals as possible. So far, the report was, last I looked, was 2.2 million people self-deported, and at least 600,000 people, particularly those are people that are criminals, have also been deported. So that's in 1 year. So you figure by the end of the year, say 2.2 million people self-deport, 800,000 people are deported. So that's 3 million in 1 year. If you did that and you continue that momentum over a 4-year period, which they say approximately somewhere between 8 to 20 million people came in under the Biden administration. But if you're deporting 3 million a year, you're really making a huge dent in that population of illegal aliens living in the United States. Now, getting into the whole morality of the situation, that's a whole nother story. Como se dice? Es otro cuento. Es uno otro cuento. So we're not going to talk about that part of it, but we are talking about the reality of approximately 3 million people are being deported, have been deported, or will be deported by the end of this year, in the first year of the Trump administration. And that is definitely in relation to Colombia. All right, so Israel, the peace deal came about, but now, from my understanding, is that the Hamas had violated the one of the 20 points in the peace deal, and Israel did do a strike in Gaza, as what I can relate or report that now. So then there's these anti-Trump protests in Paris and Spain. I don't really get that. You don't live here. I don't know how that works for you, but anyway, the government's still shut down. So there you can see the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. You see Trump on the right-hand side of this. And this is places that I get my news. See the No Kings protest there on the right. I don't know just what happened. And then there's the weekend reads and stuff like that. So yeah, this is a place where I get my news. I'm going to put myself back on the screen. And then let's get up my Twitter feed. Wow, we've really covered a lot today. All right. So there's my Twitter feed coming up. And when it comes up, I will get it on the screen. I don't want no personality. Keep less relevant lives. Okay, bingo. All right, so let's get this back on the screen. All right, so the first person you see on the screen is President Trump, right? Who knew? That's crazy. All right, so I don't get it. Social media is a funny thing, right? All right, so there's Mike Johnson, who's the Speaker of the House. And so you can see right there that he's announcing a GOP bill that requires voters to prove U.S. citizenship. I don't understand how anybody can have a problem with that. Did you know that over 80% of the United States approves an ID when voting? Because this is a very simple question. Can you vote in another country as an American citizen? In fact, if you think that you can vote in American citizen or you have an opinion on that, put that in the chat, please. If you think that you can vote in another country being an American citizen, put that in chat and put your reasoning. You don't have to give me proof, just a sentence or two, a little blurb about why you think that's possible. All right. And there's Chuck Schumer right there. President Trump's going to cut $20 billion of the project that Schumer fought for 15 years. They're talking about the both sides issue when it comes to violence and protesting and rioting. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated here in the United States, millions of people know about this, billions all over the world. I want you to recall if there was one city burnt down. But in the summer of love, 2020, what was happening in the United States all across the country? Google this. The entire capital of Wisconsin, the state capital, that was under threat. Portland, Chicago, New York, places all over, particularly heavily, I'm going to have to say it, but Democrat-led cities where people were doing just burning down their neighborhoods, burning down their cities, robbing, and still to this day, people are still doing smash and grabs. I would say that in Texas, we don't generally have that problem because Texas is just different. We don't generally have the smash and grab problem down here. That is not something that you want to do in Texas. I can tell you, or Florida, not something that you want to do. Okay, so you can see right there the Israeli airstrikes kill 11 Palestinians in Gaza after Hamas shot a missile into Israel, killing some attempting to kill some Israeli troops. Again, you see the Columbia's Petro, and there's my guy, Dr. Steve Turley, talking about state federal senator John Fetterman, who was on TV explaining that the whole issue of the Obamacare subsidies was particularly created by the Democrats. He is a Democrat, and it was designed to end by the Democrats, and then they turned around and said it's the Republicans' problem, and they created it. That is a complete lie and a fabrication. John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania, spelled that out. Google it. I didn't make this stuff up. Then there's Abby Phillips. Oh, Abby, on CNN, talking about drugs and terrorists. And Scott Jennings, well, should we just let all the drugs and Venezuelan drugs and terrorists and cartels in the United States and let them run free? And Abby Phillips literally said, Come on, Scott. Is Venezuela really that bad? And I'm just gonna throw this out there to my Venezuelan people. I know might be listening, to my Colombian people, my Mexican people, or whoever's may listen. It's not about you, but the reality is, if Venezuela was this thriving country, right, and it was so beautiful, then why are the drug lords and terrorists, why are they trying to get their stuff into the United States? Why don't they just do it right there in Venezuela? And if the people were so happy with the country, why don't they just stay? Why are they coming here? If you have an answer to that, throw that in the chat as well. But we all know the answer to that. And for CNN and Abby Phillips to get on TV and be like, oh, come on, Scott, Venezuela's not bad. Millions of people have left Venezuela. They've gone to Colombia. They've gone to Chile. They've gone to Peru. They've gone to Brazil. They come here to the United States. There's a reason that people are leaving. We have to acknowledge that instead of like living in, Peter Pan land. Like, it's okay. All right. Say this, the No Kings protest. It's very interesting to look at the demographics of the No Kings protest. Mostly retired people. Of course, you do know that many of the protesters, rioters, are being paid to do this. This is not a conjecture. Google it. You're gonna find out. Yeah, they're being paid. All right. So what has caused old white Americans en masse to behave this way and suffer severe TDS? You look at the film. You look at the pictures right there. A lot of people always talk about Black Lives Matter. Those are not black people. Those are not brown people. These are the facts. Why are most of these are mostly 60-year-old people that are out protesting saying no king, but the United States is a republic or a democratic republic. What has happened here? There's not been any assault on the monarchy. There's no monarchy in the United States. It's a weird anyway. All right, so let's keep going down. Talk about Trump's foreign policy, Barack Obama. There's some more of the stuff happening around. The government shutdown. One of the things that has come out is that Trump reallocated funds so he can pay the troops. It's also paid Medicare. Medicare affects those people that are unfortunately in dire circumstances that need it to help out assistance, daycare, food, your SNAP benefits. And so he did that while the government's been shut down. Of course, that's not being reported, but you can Google this. You can go on the United States government website and see that these things are actually happening. It's sad that our media, in some cases, actually tells people that, anyway. All right, there's Senator Kennedy. There's Bill Mayer, which is interesting, talking about people calling people fascists and Nazis. If you really understood what happened in the Holocaust, 1947, 1941, and 1947, you would not call any American citizen, no matter how much you dislike them, a Nazi or a fascist or a Gestapo. You don't really get it. You don't really get it if you're doing those things. Or you don't care because there's no in-between road there. You're talking about people that were put in gas chambers and then were burned alive. That is not happening here. It's not. You're talking about people that were separated from literally separated from their families. Citizens, not non-citizens, citizens. But in countries being overrun during the Nazi regime. This is not happening here in the United States. And for people to make these innuations, it's totally foolish, it's irresponsible, and it's not something that we should be doing to our own patriot citizens. And everyone's a patriot here. Everyone. Democrat, Republican, Independent, we're all patriots because we live in the United States and we love our country. We love our country. All right. So that's a little bit of the news section. So we got a lot going on. I can't believe we're 50 minutes in. We're going to try and wrap this up because, I want to keep your attention span. But if any of that stuff was interesting, you found interesting, go ahead. So today I decided to talk about Daniel. So over here I have Daniel opened up to Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 through 27. I'm reading again from the New American Standard Bible, not necessarily King James Version. I think this is a verse from 1961 to 1965. And we're going to talk about one of the most interesting prophecies in the Bible, because it is all about Jesus, as my helmet says. So we have motorcycles, we have news, and we have the Bible. Ultimately, we're going to talk about God. We're going to talk about Jesus Christ. So Daniel is one of the most interesting prophecies in the Bible because it's not only a a prophecy, but it affects all of mankind. Why does it affect all of mankind? Because if you look at right now, and I would ask you, who is at the center of human history? And I would give you a thousand names, 1,000 choices. The only choice that really matters and the only choice that makes sense is Jesus. Why? When we say our calendar starts, right, with Jesus, right? And there's always the Jesus question. And society, like, what do we do with the Christians? What do we do with their beliefs? You can be in any other religion that you want to be. You can follow any other person that you want to be. But as soon as you tell people that that you're following Jesus, there's generally just like, oh, it's awkwardness. I'm not saying everybody. In case you're watching, I'm calling any names or calling any shots. But there's always the Jesus question because Jesus sits at the center of history. He is all to all, whether we acknowledge that or not. So, what happens in the book of Daniel that is so important? We're going to cover this, so let's just jump right into it. And let's get the book of Daniel up. And I don't know if I have that part of it up right now, but I'm going to put a chart up. Booyah. All right, let me take that off so you can see. So this chart here is a timeline. And this timeline is a prophecy of 70 weeks. Let me say that again. This chart is a timeline, and the timeline is a prophecy of 70 weeks. So it's talking about Daniel, this book in the Bible that was written long before Jesus Christ was born, right? And then something should happen that is going to affect history. By this guy, Daniel. All right. So let's do that. So let's read Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 to 27. I'm reading from the New American Standard Bible. 70 weeks have been decreed for your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to make atonement for iniquity, and bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy place. So you are to know and discern that from the issuing of a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It will be built again with plaza and moat, even in times of distress. Then, after 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing, and the people of the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, and its end will come with a flood. Even to the end, there will be war, desolations are determined. And he will make a firm covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week, he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offering, and on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate, even until a complete destruction, and one that is decreed is poured out on the one who makes desolate. Now, for many of you that may not understand or may not have read your Bible, sometimes that may sound a little weird to hear. Doesn't necessarily read like our English that we speak here in the 21st century, okay? But the next of the story is that there's this guy named Daniel, who's a prophet, a Hebrew prophet. And he's talking about something that's going to happen many, many, many moons later than the time that he's actually lived. So Daniel, what do we know about him? I just dropped something. It's cool. I does that. I does that. I know you're supposed to say I do that, but I'm going to say that. So what do we know of Daniel? Daniel's this guy that went to Babylon. Babylon was an empire back in the days. During the first deportation from Israel, when Israel was conquered in 606 BC. He had a couple other members were part of the Judean or the king, the royal and noble, much like we had aristocrats and politicians, statesmen now. So that's kind of what they were back there. They were part of the royal family. And he also had this special training to serve in the Babylonian court. All right, so that gives you a little bit of background of him. He gained this reputation as being able to interpret dreams and miracles, which led to his appointment to the top of the government status. So consider him like an ambassador way back in the way. And he served during this empire called the Medo-Persian, which we have the British Empire. Now some people say the American Empire or the Indo Empire. So back then he was a high-to-do guy. So Babylon fell about 539 BC. Again, when I say that Christ is the center thing, where do we get the BC? It's before Christ. It's very simple. So before Christ, 539 BC. So that time you're counting down 539, 538, 537, 536. Get the next of it 539, 538, 537, 536, all the way down. Then Christ, and then we start counting up 1, 2, 3, and now we're at 2025, the center of everything. Who knew, right? So that's when that. So we're not gonna get into the whole first 7 chapters of it, but we're just gonna cover chapter 9, verse 24 through 27. All right. I'm also going to show you something here because Daniel said something about this is a book called The Coming Prince by Sir Robert Anderson. Yeah, you can get this book on Amazon, but I would recommend you getting this book if you want to understand more about the prophecy of Daniel and the book of Daniel. This is one of the books that if I were going to tell you that you wanted to research, check it out, the book of Daniel. Good book to get into, Christian or non-Christian, right? But it's definitely going to open your eyes. Talks a lot about world history, and because history does matter. If we forget history, we're destined to repeat it. But also, history tells us things that have passed, and in this case, things that were going to happen. All right. So, if we were to talk about this prophecy, let's talk about a little bit. Let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about his place of his birth. I'm going to give you the scriptures. So, Micah chapter 5, verse 2, he should be born in Bethlehem. The time of the birth, Daniel chapter 9, verse 25, and Genesis 49:10. The scepter shall not depart from Shiloh until that leader comes, right? So, the manner of birth, Isaiah 9, chapter 14, which talks about he should be born of a virgin. 7:14, that he would be betrayed. This is all through the Psalms. His manner of death would be crucifixion, that he'd be on the wood, and Psalms 22:16, and that people would mock him, that people would spit on him, that people would stare at him, and people would stay away from him, that he would be pierced. This is all in the Bible, written way before this happened, and then his burial and resurrection, right? Okay, so those are the things. Now, the probability, the mathematical probability of one thing happen, right, according to Stoner, would be 1 in 10, right? That's 10 to the 17th power. If you take all these things, prophecy number 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, because I gave you 8 things, the possibility that would happen to one person living in the span of human history would be 1, and I'm going to say 10 to the 17th power. I can't say that number because I don't know what it means. I just know it's 17 zeros. So to comprehend this, let's think about this. If you took 10 to the 17 power silver dollars and laid them here in the face of Texas, that would cover the entire state of Texas 2 feet deep. I'm going to say that again. If you did that, the amount, 10 to the 17 zeros, and you put that in the state of Texas, that covered the entire state of Texas 2 feet deep. Now, I want you to take one silver dollar, and take all those silver dollars, take one of those silver dollars, right, and mark it. And then I want you to mix all of those silver dollars, 10 to the 17, 2 feet deep, cover the entire state of Texas. Then I want you to blindfold a person and tell him that he has to pick up the one silver dollar that we're looking for, 10 to the 17, 2 feet deep in the state of Texas, and he only has one chance and he has to get the right one. What is the chance that he would have of getting the right one? If you can calculate that, I've told you the answer. Do you think that what is the realm of the possibility in all of human history? And that's that we're talking about one person who is Jesus Christ. So even these prophecies, and we're not going to get into the literary part of Daniel, and you want to argue, oh, did a man write this, or was this a real book, or whatever the case may be? We can cover that. Put that in chat if you have any questions for me. I will definitely get into that. But that's what we're talking about, the odds that all of those 8 prophecies that I just mentioned would happen. So the scepter should not depart from Judah until a lawgiver comes between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. That's Genesis chapter 49, verse 10. Google it if you want to. And what does that mean? The scepter. It means it's a tribal staff. So each of the 12 tribes of Israel had a tribal staff or tribal identity. The one tribe that they're specifically talking about is the tribe of Judah, which means that this was not to pass away before Shiloh come. So for centuries, Jewish and Christian commentators alike have taken the word Shiloh to be the name of the Messiah. All right? We're not going to cover that, but that's a homework lesson. So according to the scripture, and the Jews, 2 signs were to take place soon after the advent of the Messiah. 1, there will be this removal of the scepter from the identity of Judah. And 2, there should be suppression of judicial power. All right, so a quick news flash. If you go back to Rome, 82, 83, BC 1, 2, 3, 4, you will know that Judea was ruled by the Romans. So they had no judicial power. They were actually subjugate to the Roman Empire. All right. So the first visible sign of this beginning came when Judah, about the time of Herod the Great, who was no Jewish blood, who was succeeded by a Maccabean prince and belonged to the tribe of Levi, and they were the last Jewish kings to have their reign in Jerusalem. The legal power of the Sanhedrin at that time is restricted 23 years before the trial of Christ. This restriction involved the loss of power to pass the death sentence. So that means they have no judicial power in their own country. And this occurred before the deposition of Archelaus, the son and successor of Herod. A lot of people right here. But they retained the Sanhedrin retained the power to excommunicate and imprison and have corporal punishment. All right, so that's a little bit of that. We're just building some groundwork here. Now, the destruction of the temple part, because what did they say in here in Daniel chapter 9? And so you're to know that and discern that from the issue of a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the Messiah Prince, there be 7 and 62 weeks. That's 62-9, and it will be built with a plaza and moat and evening times. And then there will be one other week, verse 27. So that's a total of 70 weeks. So from the Lord you will suddenly come to his temple, according to Malachi chapter 3, verse 1. And this verse, along with 4 others, we're not getting into it. So Daniel chapter 9, Haggai chapter 2, verse 7, Zechariah 11:3, with demands that the Messiah comes at a particular time. And it's when the temple of Jerusalem is still standing. We also know that the temple of Jerusalem was destroyed in what? 80, let's get that up for you. Let's cover that again. So if you look at my screen right now, you can see this little timeline, right? The destruction of the temple was in AD 70, according to Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. So just remember these dates, and we're going to cover them. Right? All right. So the Lord's going to come to the temple, but after AD 70, the temple was destroyed and has never been rebuilt. Now, there are talks about the temple in Israel being rebuilt, but it hasn't been rebuilt. So after 62 weeks, Messiah should be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, according to Daniel chapter 9, verse 26. So this is a statement. The Messiah comes, the Messiah is cut off, destruction of the city and sanctuary. The temple and the city were destroyed by Titus and his army in AD 70. This is a historical fact. Therefore, either Messiah had already come or the prophecy is false. Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 to 27 says a prophecy is given in 3 specific parts, right? So it includes 77s of years. So you're looking at my chart here. So there's 490 years. The first part starts at the end of 69 weeks or 60 or 7s. The Messiah will come to Jerusalem. Did the Messiah come to Jerusalem? Because the Messiah must come to Jerusalem before the temple is destroyed. So that means if you look at the chart, the Messiah must come before AD 70. So we're looking for a person, right? 62 sevens are understood as 69 7-year periods. By contrast, the starting part of the 69 weeks is multiplied by 7 years equals 483 years, which is the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. We know that decree happened by Artaxerxes. And if you look at this, it says 490 years in total. So all of the above, according to Daniel 9:24-26, takes place after the 69 weeks of years. But Daniel 9:24 mentions 70 weeks. 7 plus 62 plus 1. So the final week is described in verse 27, right? So then we have the text. And let's talk about the Hebrew word for the week. So we understand is Shabuah, which literally means a 7. And then in the Hebrew, the idea of 70 weeks is 77s, which is how we get to that, right? Leviticus chapter 25, 2-4 demonstrates that in case you want to go look at. Remember what has been said, the several reasons that we know or believe that 7 weeks mentioned in Daniel are 77s. So Daniel had been thinking immediately in terms of years and multiples of 7 early in the chapter, Daniel chapter 9, verse 1-2, which we did not read. Daniel knew that the Babylonian captivity was based on a violation of the Sabbaths, which means that every 7th year there was to be a year of rest in Israel, according to Leviticus chapter 26. So the Sabbatic year was violated for 490 years exactly. The context then makes it very consistent and makes sense that we should understand the 70 weeks is 70 years. Shabuah, the word for week in Hebrew, is found in Daniel chapter 9. and the context demands that it means, Daniel chapter 10 rather, that it means weeks instead of days. So we know the length of a prophetic year. All right, so let's get back to this again. So the decree of Cyrus was 539 BC. Remember 539, 538, 537. So we're counting down, right? So that was in Ezra, the book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1 through 4. There was a decree that we should go back and rebuild the walls, and there's a decree that we go back and rebuild the temple. So the decree of Darius was 519. That's also in Ezra. But the decree of Artaxerxes is Ezra 457 BC, and the decree of Artaxerxes in Nehemiah. But the only one that fits is the decree of Artaxerxes, which is in the book of Nehemiah. So this decree in Nehemiah 2, it was in the 20th year of Artaxerxes, who was the ruler of at that time. And its subject matter can be easily termed. In Nehemiah, he hears the desolation, or Jerusalem's down, it's messed up, there's no food, people are poor, it's poverty, the city, the walls have been trampled over. You have to think what it's like to live in there in that time in contrast to what it's like living in our time. Imagine living in New York City and it's like there's no food, there's no housing, there's no public assistance, there's no transportation. Y'all just messed up. And this is what in Nehemiah is looking like. So the king says to Nehemiah, the city, the place of my fathers, the sepulchres lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire. And he asked the king this request, I be sent to the city that I may rebuild it. And as we read, he was sent and he rebuilt Jerusalem. This decree is the commandment to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. Daniel chapter 9, right? So then they go there. They have some issues with the people. But the important part is the decree. When does this decree happen? It happens in 444 BC. Let's put this chart back up for you to see. March 4th, 444 BC. You can see that. And that begins what? The 69 weeks. All right? So that begins the 69 weeks. So in the month of Nisan, the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, because that's in the Bible, Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1. I'm not telling you nothing that you can't go and look for yourself. So this decree. Artaxerxes' ascension was in 465 BC. So you say 444, 465, that means he had been in power for 421. Because again, 440, 65, 64, 63, and so forth and so on. There's no date that's specified. So that would make it, in this case, March 5th, 444 BC is our corresponding date. So it took 49 years to restore the city. Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. And the close of the Hebrew prophecy or the Old Testament canon is Malachi. And that's marked 49 years, right? So that's 444 BC. So if Daniel's correct, the time from the edict to restore and build Jerusalem, Nisan 444 BC, to the coming of the Messiah to Jerusalem, when Jesus enters Jerusalem on his triumphal entrance, should be 483 years, equaling to the prophetic calendar, because there's 360 years in the Jewish calendar, unlike ours, 100,073 days, 880 days. So now you get the opportunity to count from that time down to the time that Jesus enters. So you see the weeks right there on the right-hand side of the screen. 69 times 7 is 483. We could all be in agreement with that. 483 times 60 is 173,880, which is the decree of Artaxerxes. March 38, 8033. Zechariah 9 talks about, he should come lowly riding on a donkey. Luke chapter 9 gives us that date. And what happens on that day? Jesus, on April 3rd, during the Passover, Jesus rides into Jerusalem. And then April 3rd, he is crucified or cut off. So, and we're not even going to get into the 80-70 part of it, because that fulfills Daniel chapter 9, that there'd be this determination, this separate week where there's going to be this peace agreement where with the Antichrist and the false prophet with Israel. But in the middle of that peace agreement, he's going to cut off, sacrifice. The temple is going to be rebuilt. And there are talks about rebuilding the temple right now. He's going to cut that off. He's going to go in and he's going to do the abomination desolation. If you don't know what the abomination desolation is, that is when you take something and you go inside the temple in the holiest of holies, and you place it on the altar, which was done, which caused the Maccabean revolt. These are historical things, so you get an idea of Antiochus Epiphanes did to the first temple, which caused the Maccabean revolt. There's a historical stuff. I don't know if you guys know about the term Masada or understand what was happening during that time, but to this day, we still have a festival in Jewish history called Hanukkah, which is the Festival of Lights, which is a commemoration of the Jews cleansing the temple when it was desecrated by Antiochus Epiphanes. Historical stuff, and you're doing it right now, and you might not understand why we're doing some of the things, but this is stuff that you can easily look up yourself. So, 173,880 days to the exact day, according to Daniel, Jesus enters into Jerusalem in his triumphal entry as the only time where Jesus allowed people to worship him as God, Lord, Savior of all mankind, the Messiah. And I tell you people this all the time. Jesus is his name. Christ is a title, which means the Messiah. The Jews knew exactly what they were doing, and the Sanhedrin knew exactly what they were doing when they were crucifying Jesus. They were crucifying him because he made himself God. He made himself the Messiah. He said it over and over and over and over and over again in the scriptures. And then they cut him off. They cut him off, and then we're looking to end the 7th week, which is one more week, which is when the Antichrist makes a peace treaty with the state of Israel. And then during the middle of that peace treaty, he betrays Israel, violates that treaty, goes into and redoes what Antiochus Epiphanes does, goes in, becomes the abomination of desolation, and this begins the last part of the 70th week, and which is known as the period as the Great Tribulation. So you can see all of that stuff right there. That's why the book of Daniel, and this is Daniel in a nutshell, is so important for you to understand. If there's any doubt on who this one person could be in the midst of history that could be the Savior of all mankind, this one person that can fit the description of the Messiah, it had to happen already. It can't happen now because the temple's destroyed, right? So the Messiah must have presented himself to mankind, to the world, before AD 70. It had to happen, right? So to say that the Messiah is coming now, as Jesus said, makes this warning. People say, oh, the Messiah is here, the Messiah is there. Hey, don't believe that. The Messiah has already come, been cut off and died, and is risen, and is coming again for his people. So it's a very important, and that's Daniel in the nutshell, that we understand this book and this prophecy is so important for understanding history and time. I'm not going to cover all of that, but it's like a little morsel with some honey on it. So because we always say we got motorcycles, news, and of course the Bible. So if you have any questions about Daniel and this prophecy, relook at it. I can say review this. Put something in the chat. I'm more than welcome to go through whatever it is or answer any of your questions. Hope that you enjoyed the content. And that's pretty much all that I've got for you today. I hope that this has been a blessing. Ride safe. I think, as they say, if you don't forget to talk, if you talk about everything in your life, don't forget to talk about Jesus. Be good to your family and your friends. Try to live an upright and upstanding life. I know that we go through challenges in life. I know that we fall and we have temptation, but the Bible is clear. The just man falleth 7 times, but the Lord lifts him up. So if you think that you're going through something and you've gone away from God and you're a prodigal son, don't worry. God's still going to rejoice when you come back and say, my son that was yet dead is now alive. And we, as those that are upstanding and are walking in our walk and working out our salvation with fear and trembling before the Lord, reverence to him and understanding the sacrifice that he's made for our lives, that we should have eternity with him. It's the best decision that you're ever going to make in your life if you don't know Jesus, to know Jesus. It's all about Jesus. I'm going to say that it's all about Jesus, 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 Jesus. And Jesus has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness, and he's allowed us to enjoy our lives here. We are very fortunate to live in the United States of America. If you're born here and you were not born in a place like, say, you could have born in Somalia or Uganda or in war-torn or ravaged countries or countries that don't have some of the quote-unquote creature comforts that we have as United States citizens and Christians in particular. So be thankful that you were born here in the United States. This is your lot. and this time of life. But at the same time, you know what? Pray for those people that are unfortunate. Pray for the believers in other countries that are truly being tormented and truly being persecuted. And we fear that there will be a time when Christians will be tormented all across the world. But nevertheless, we have a great high priest who intercedes on our behalf, that prays for us, and that will usher each and one of us into his presence, as the scripture says, now unto him that is able to keep us from falling and present us faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy of our Lord, our Savior. Right? So we're just praying pray for each other, uplift each other, uplift our fellow bikers. Be kind, be considerate, keep your head on a swivel when you're out there riding, and de-escalate, de-escalate, de-escalate. All right, guys, that is all I've got for you right now. I wish you guys the best. Have a great Sunday, and I will see you on the next one.